when I built a couple of my vehicles, there was a time where people started watching what I was doing. I was just doing stuff out of my garage. I'd bought a '91 Oldsmobile custom cruiser, one of those.
The story people believe about Dave Kindig isn't the real one. The man behind Bitchin Rides built a reputation as one of the most talented custom car designers in America, but behind the scenes, his journey was shaped by setbacks and moments that nearly cost him everything. So why are people only finding out about this now? And what really happened to Dave Kindig? Join us as we uncover the full story of what really happened to Dave Kindig, the man nobody knew before the cameras. Before Dave Kindig became a television personality, he was just a kid from Salt Lake City who could not stop drawing cars. That is where the story actually begins. In a sketchbook, in a bedroom in Utah, where a boy who did not fit comfortably into any conventional mold found the one thing that made complete sense to him. Dave Kindig grew up with a passion for automotive design that went beyond what most enthusiasts experience. He was not just someone who liked cars, he was someone who saw cars the way an architect sees a building, as a problem of proportion, line, and form that could always be made more beautiful if you approached it with enough skill and enough vision. From an early age, Kindig pursued formal training in automotive design, studying at the Art Institute and developing the technical foundation that would later define his work at Kindig Design. That foundation separated him from the many talented fabricators in the custom car world who learned entirely by doing. The shop he built, Kindig Design, became one of the most respected custom car businesses in the United States before television entered the picture. Located in Salt Lake City, Utah, not exactly the capital of the American car culture that tends to cluster in California, Texas, and the Southeast, Kindig Design built a reputation on work that combined old-school craftsmanship with design sensibility that most custom shops simply could not match. Clients came from across the country. That was the reality of Dave Kindig's life before Bitchin Rides. The story of how Bitchin Rides came to exist is not the smooth, inevitable-feeling story that television success stories tend to become in retrospect. It was messy and uncertain, and there were multiple moments where it could have collapsed before a single frame was ever shot. Dave Kindig has spoken in interviews about his initial skepticism toward the television opportunity. He had spent years building a business on the quality of his work and the trust of his clients. Television, in the custom car world, had already produced shows that prioritized drama over craftsmanship, conflict over skill, and personality over product. Dave did not want Kindig Design to become that. He did not want cameras in his shop if what came out of it would misrepresent what he and his team actually did. The negotiations that led to Bitchin Rides involved significant back and forth over how the show would be structured and what creative control Dave would retain. Dave wanted the builds to be the centerpiece. He wanted the craftsmanship to be what viewers came for. He wanted the show to be something that a genuine car person could watch and respect, not just something that casual viewers could follow for entertainment. Getting those assurances out of a television production was not a simple process. There were also concerns about the clients. The people who brought their cars to Kindig Design was trusting Dave with vehicles that were, in many cases, irreplaceable. Classic cars, family heirlooms, and dream projects that had been planned for decades. Putting those cars and clients on television required conversations that had nothing to do with production schedules or episode structures. It required trust. When Bitchin Rides finally premiered on Velocity in 2014, the response from the custom car community was immediate and genuinely enthusiastic. Unlike some of the builds and drama shows that had come before it, Bitchin Rides actually showed the work. It showed what it really took to transform a car from its original condition into something that looked like it had rolled out of Dave Kindig's sketchbook. Viewers who knew cars recognized what they were seeing, and those discovering the world for the first time found it completely compelling. What did Dave Kindig have to give up in order to get Bitchin Rides made in a way that honored the craftsmanship at the heart of his shop? The television pressure that nobody talks about. Here is the thing that Dave Kindig has been increasingly open about in recent years, and it is the thing that his fans needed to hear. Television is not a comfortable environment for a craftsman. Television has schedules. Television has deadlines. Television has producers who need drama and resolution within a specific number of minutes. And television does not care that the perfect custom car takes as long as it takes. The pressure that comes with filming a show inside a working custom car shop doesn't go away once the cameras arrive. It intensifies. Every build that appears on Bitchin Rides is a real build for a real client. The car has to be finished and has to be done right. Dave Kindig's name is on every vehicle that leaves his shop, and that name means something to him that no production schedule can override. But the production schedule exists regardless. In open interviews, Dave has talked about the tension between the pace that television demands and the pace that quality custom work requires. There were builds that needed more time than the show's structure allowed for on-screen. There were moments where the pressure from production was in direct conflict with the standards Dave holds for his own work. Navigating that tension, episode after episode, season after season, took a toll that Dave has only recently begun to speak about publicly. There was also the effect on his team. The craftsmen and fabricators at Kindig Design are professionals who came to work at a custom shop, not a television production. Having cameras in the shop changes the environment. It changes the rhythm of the work. It creates an awareness that everything being said and done is being recorded, and that awareness does not disappear after a few weeks. Some members of the Kindig team struggled with the television environment, and there were personnel changes over the course of the show's run that had as much to do with the filming pressure as with anything else. How did Dave Kindig manage to maintain the quality standards that built his reputation while operating under the constant pressure of a television production schedule? The build that almost broke everything. Every long-running show has a moment that nearly ends it. For Dave Kindig and Bitchin Rides, that moment came during one of the most complicated builds the shop had ever taken on. The details of which specific build pushed the shop closest to its limits have been discussed by Dave in fragments across several interviews. And the picture that emerges is one of a project that arrived at the worst possible time. The shop was already at capacity. The television production was in full swing, and the client's vision for the car required fabrication work that was going to demand more time, more engineering creativity, and more problem-solving than almost anything Kindig Design had previously attempted. What happened during that build was a stress test of everything Dave had built. The design work had to be executed perfectly, because the proportions of what the client wanted left no room for approximation. The fabrication had to solve problems that did not have established solutions. The team worked hours that went far beyond what anyone had planned, driven by the combination of client expectations, production deadlines, and Dave's own refusal to let anything leave his shop that was not right. There were moments where the path forward on the build was genuinely unclear, and where the pressure of the television cameras made finding that path harder rather than easier. Dave has said in interviews that this period was one of the most difficult of his professional life, and that it forced him to have conversations with himself about what the show was doing to the shop and whether the trade-off was still worth making. The car was finished and was beautiful in the way that Kindig builds always are. But the cost of getting it there was higher than Dave has ever fully quantified publicly. And it changed how he thought about the relationship between his business and his television career going forward. What does it take to maintain the standards of a world-class custom car shop when the demands of a television production are running simultaneously inside the same building? What Dave Kindig said about the industry's dark side. One of the most significant changes in Dave Kindig's public presence in recent years has been his increasing willingness to talk about things that custom car builders typically keep private. Dave has spoken about clients who arrive with expectations that do not match their budgets and the difficult conversations that follow. Custom car building is one of the few industries where the customer often does not fully understand the cost of what they are asking for until the process is well underway. Managing that gap between expectation and reality is one of the most demanding parts of running a shop like Kindig Design, and it is a part that television almost never shows, honestly. He has also talked about the broader custom car industry's complicated relationship with television exposure and what happens to shops and builders who pursue fame without having the foundation to support it. Some of the shows that came before Bitchin Rides created stars who were not ready for the scrutiny that fame brings, and whose shops struggled or failed when the cameras went away. Dave watched that happen to people he knew and respected, and it informed his approach to the television opportunity when it came to him. The financial realities of custom car building are something Dave has addressed with unusual candor. Building a truly great custom car costs more than most people outside the industry imagine. The labor hours involved in the design work alone, before a single piece of metal is cut, can run into figures that surprise clients who have only ever dealt with standard restoration shops. At Kindig Design, the commitment to doing things properly means that the shop has turned away work that would have been profitable, but would not have been right. That is a business philosophy that most companies cannot afford to hold, and Dave has been open about what it has cost him to maintain it. The dark side of the industry, as Dave describes it, is not as dramatic as television drama. It is the quieter difficulty of doing expensive, skilled work in a market that does not always value skill at the level it deserves, and staying true to a standard that the market does not always reward. But that's only part of the story, because once you reach that level, there's always another side to it. People watching, judging, and sharing their opinions. So what exactly have critics been saying? The critics who tried to tear him down. Success of the kind Dave Kindig has achieved does not arrive without criticism. And the criticism that has been directed at him and at Bitchin Rides over the years has come from directions that reveal as much about the custom car community as it does about Dave himself. Some of the criticism has come from within the custom car world. There are builders who view television exposure with suspicion, who believe that any craftsman who agrees to put cameras in their shop has made a compromise that disqualifies them from being taken entirely seriously. This is a view that exists in many skilled trades, the idea that commercial success and genuine artistry are in fundamental tension with each other. Dave has faced a version of that skepticism, and he has addressed it by letting the work answer. The cars that leave Kindig Design are not television props. They are driven, shown, and judged in environments where the quality of the craftsmanship is the only thing that matters. At car shows where Kindig builds have been entered, the reception from judges and fellow enthusiasts has consistently validated the quality of what the shop produces. The television exposure has not come at the cost of the work. If anything, the pressure of being watched has pushed the shop to standards it might not have reached without that scrutiny. Other criticism has focused on the show's format and on the decisions that production makes about which builds to feature and how to present them. Some viewers have felt that certain projects were shown in ways that did not fully capture the complexity of what was involved, or that the editing created impressions of timelines and difficulty that were inaccurate. Dave has acknowledged that television editing is a reality he cannot fully control, and has tried to supplement what the show presents with more direct communication through social media and interviews. The online custom car community, which can be harsh in its assessments of television personalities, has largely landed on a position of genuine respect for Dave Kindig. A respect that is grounded in the recognition that the work holds up regardless of whatever reservations people might have about the television format. Even with mixed opinions about the show, the respect for his work is hard to ignore. But while all that was happening publicly, something unexpected was happening in private. So what changed for Dave? The health scare that stopped everything. There is a part of Dave Kindig's story that did not get the attention it deserved when it happened, and that Dave himself handled with a quietness that was characteristic of his approach to personal difficulties. A health scare that arrived without warning and forced a complete reassessment of the pace at which he had been living and working. Dave has spoken in interviews about a period when the physical demands of running a shop caught up with him in a way that could not be ignored. The custom car world is not physically gentle. The hours are long, the work is demanding, and the combination of creative pressure and business pressure creates a stress load that accumulates invisibly until it becomes impossible to ignore. When Dave stepped back publicly during this period, the speculation from fans and followers was significant, with many wondering whether Bitchin Rides was in trouble or whether something serious had happened behind the scenes. The truth, as Dave eventually shared, was that his body had told him something his professional commitments had been drowning out for years. He needed to slow down. He needed to make changes. He needed to treat his own health with the same care and attention that he gave to the cars in his shop. The changes he made in response were real and lasting. Dave Kindig has spoken about restructuring how the shop operates, about delegating in ways he had previously resisted, and about learning to trust his team with responsibilities that he had historically kept entirely to himself. For someone whose identity is so deeply connected to personal control over every aspect of the work, that kind of delegation required a fundamental shift in how he thought about his role. The health scare did something else, too. It clarified his priorities in a way that years of success had not. It made it impossible to avoid the question of what he was doing all this. And the answer he arrived at, family, craft, and legacy, shaped everything that came after. That moment changed more than just his pace. It changed his focus. And with that clarity came a new direction. So, where is Dave heading from here? The future Dave Kindig is building. After everything, the television pressure, the health scare, the industry criticism, and the personal cost of sustaining a standard that most people never attempt, Dave Kindig is still building cars. And the cars are still extraordinary. The shop has evolved in ways that position it for the next generation of custom car culture, incorporating design processes and fabrication technologies that did not exist when Dave started. But the foundation has not changed. The commitment to beginning with proportion, to designing before fabricating, and to finishing to a standard that holds up under any level of scrutiny, that commitment is unchanged and, if anything, more explicit than it has ever been. Dave has also been more active in the broader conversation about automotive design education, talking publicly about the importance of formal training for aspiring custom builders and supporting pathways into the industry that go beyond the learn-as-you-go model that most of the custom car world has historically relied on. That advocacy is part of the legacy project he has described in recent interviews. The question of what comes next for Bitchin Rides is one that Dave has addressed carefully. He has said that the show continues as long as it serves the shop and the work, not the other way around. That framing, the work first, the television second, is the most succinct summary of how Dave Kindig has always approached the complicated relationship between craftsmanship and commerce. What would it take for Dave Kindig to be fully recognized not just as a television personality, but as one of the most significant figures in the history of American custom car design? Should Bitchin Rides continue, or has Dave Kindig already built the legacy he set out to create? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.